Here's a data science tutorial on how to do experimentation in the presence of spillover effects. This is one of the most important concepts in data science in the causal inference realm, and is the big separation between a junior or mid-level data scientist and a senior level data scientist. And this is going to be the first video in a series on this very important topic, so follow along if you guys are interested. In a typical user level experiment, you might have tens or hundreds of thousands or even millions of observations that you can randomize over. When you randomize over huge samples, you're pretty close to guaranteed that your treatment and control groups are going to be equal on both observed and unobserved characteristics. This lets you estimate a treatment effect by just looking at the differences in mean outcomes between your treatment and your control groups. But in the presence of spillover effects, you oftentimes have to cluster at some sort of bigger level, such as geographies. So here's an example where we only have 40 different geo levels. So that's an effective sample size of just 40. Well, suddenly all these things that you relied on with randomization in larger experiments, such as the treatment and the control groups being equal, they just don't apply anymore. Think about it like this. If you randomly took 1 million people in the US and just randomly split them into treatment and control and compared their differences in height, weight, income, hairs on their head, their two groups are going to be very, very similar. But if you only had 40 people and you split them into two groups, even randomly, it's just unlikely that they're going to be that similar on these characteristics. But it turns out that you can use causal inference methods. And here's an example where we're going to use difference in differences to still deal with the fact that they might be different. So I generated data for a time series for 40 different markets. And you can see that there's some shared seasonality going on, but they're actually quite different. In fact, each region has its own unique seasonality and growth rate. But in small samples, if I randomly assign them to treatment and control, the treatment and control are still quite different, right? If you had thousands of these observations, the treatment and control group would be right on top of each other. But in small samples, they're different. This is why you cannot simply compare the mean outcome in the treatment group to the mean outcome in the control group when you're dealing with small sample experiments. Now, this is AA testing, but look what happens if we run a difference in differences model. We do get an estimated effect, but it is nowhere close to statistical significance. And in fact, if we run this iteration like thousands of times, so we take our markets and we just keep randomizing which markets are in treatment and control, you can see how often we get results that are statistically significant, how big they are. And so I do exactly that. 2,000 different iterations. I randomize which of these 40 markets are going to be treatment and control, and look at what the typical difference in difference estimate is. It's a relative effect of just 0.14%. Again, this is AA testing, so we're looking for something that is close to zero. And you can see the intercept. So our main KPI on average is about 1,700 units. So in this case, I called it bookings. And the average treatment effect of these 2,000 random times that we did difference in differences is just -1, right? So this is an absolutely tiny effect that we're getting. And if you look at those 2,000 iterations, you can see that the distribution of these difference in differences results is unbiased, right? It's an unbiased estimator. It's centered around zero, and it's reasonably tightly packed.